Why you shouldn't hold it in, the release valve. Welcome to my channel, Habit Compass. Okay, today we're diving into something that affects literally every single one of us, but honestly, we almost never talk about it. We're looking at this intense, kind of suffocating societal pressure to just suppress our emotions. I mean, from a super young age, so many of us are taught to grin and bear it, keep a stiff upper lip, and whatever you do, never let them see you sweat. Or more accurately, never let them see you cry. But what is all that bottling up actually doing to our internal wiring? Well, in this video, we're going to break down the mechanics of emotional suppression. We'll look at why stuffing things down is definitely not a viable long-term strategy and how we can actually rethink our whole approach to emotional health.
So I want you to stop and think about your immediate gut reaction to this question. Is crying a sign of a breakdown? For most of us, the answer society is hardwired into our brains is a resounding yes. We kind of treat tears like this white flag of surrender, right? Like shedding a tear is this huge moment of weakness, a totally embarrassing loss of control, or a glaring failure to cope with whatever life is throwing our way. If someone starts crying at work, or even just in a heated argument, everyone's immediate assumption is, oh man, they've cracked under the pressure. But what if we have this entirely backwards? What if the very act we've categorized as a breakdown is actually the precise mechanism preventing one? Let's totally challenge that misconception today.
All right, to really get this, let's look at a core metaphor: the lid versus the valve. Imagine two totally different approaches to handling stress. The first one is the lid. Think of the person who tries to just seal everything up incredibly tight. No emotions escape, absolutely zero vulnerabilities are shown. It is a completely closed system. Right in contrast to that, we have the valve approach. Now, someone using this approach, they still experience stress and pressure for sure. But instead of slamming a heavy, immovable lid on top of it all, they have a small, functional release mechanism, a controlled vent. They're not letting everything out all at once in some massive flood, but they're also not trapping it inside. They allow for a safe, controlled release of all that internal pressure that builds up from daily life.
Section 1. Anatomy of an explosion. So what exactly happens when we commit to the lid approach? Well, when you seal up a vessel and continually apply the heat of daily life, the constant barrage of deadlines, personal conflicts, money worries, just the general friction of existing, that energy doesn't just magically disappear. It literally has to go somewhere. And in a sealed system, it turns into pure, volatile pressure. Step 1. The steam builds up. You probably don't even notice it at first. It's just, a tight jaw, a little extra irritability, maybe a heavy feeling in your chest. But make no mistake, the heat is on. Step 2, the shaking begins. The internal pressure is now pushing way past the structural integrity of your container. This is where your anxiety spikes. Your sleep gets totally messed up. Your focus shatters. You're practically vibrating with all this unexpressed emotional weight. And then, step 3, the inevitable. The lid pops off. The pressure gets so intense that, metaphorically speaking, your head literally flies off. The explosion happens. And here's the truly terrifying part about all this: you do not get to choose when or where step 3 happens. It might be snapping at someone you love over something completely trivial, or having a full-blown panic attack in the middle of a random Tuesday.
Which brings us straight to the really destructive aftermath, picking up the pieces. The explosion happened, and trust me, it wasn't a clean, controlled event. The lid got blown sky high, leaving us scrambling around, frantically trying to gather up the shattered pieces. We're trying to rebuild trust that got broken in a random outburst, or trying to recover from a massive bout of emotional exhaustion and burnout. The collateral damage of an explosion is literally always high. Trying to hold everything in doesn't prevent a mess. It just guarantees that when the mess finally happens, it's going to be catastrophic, unmanageable, and take a ton of time and energy to clean up.
Section 2. Crying as system maintenance.
Okay, let's take a collective breath and look at the valve approach to see how this builds into a much, much healthier alternative. Unlike the lid, who had that violent, messy explosion, a person acting as a valve encounters the exact same heat and the exact same pressure, but they engage their release mechanism. By just letting out a few tears, what's the result? They remain completely calm and totally intact. The steam is safely vented. The shaking stops before it even really gets going. There's absolutely no explosion. There are no shattered pieces to desperately pick up off the floor. Let's formally reframe what we are actually talking about here. System maintenance is a routine, necessary biological protocol used to safely vent pressure and prevent total breakdown. So the absolute crucial point is that crying is not some glitch in your software. It's not an error message. It is a highly evolved, deeply necessary biological maintenance tool. Just like sweating regulates your body's physical temperature when you get too hot, crying regulates your internal emotional pressure when it gets way too high. When we look at tears through this lens, we stop seeing them as a sign of weakness, and we actually start recognizing them for what they truly are, a built-in safety feature designed specifically to keep us functioning optimally.
Seriously, if you take nothing else away from this video, please burn this concept into your memory. Crying equals regulation, not failure. This is the ultimate reframing right here. When you allow yourself to cry, you aren't failing to cope. Actually, scratch that, you are actively coping. You are successfully utilizing the exact biological mechanism designed to process stress and restore equilibrium to your nervous system. Choosing to use your release valve is an act of profound self-awareness and self-regulation. It means you are strong enough and smart enough to manage your internal pressure safely, rather than just stubbornly waiting around for an inevitable catastrophic explosion. Which brings us to our final and honestly vital question for you to ponder as we wrap things up. How are you venting your steam today? Are you functioning as a lid, just tightly sealing up every frustration and sadness until you physically shake? Or are you allowing yourself the grace and honestly the biological necessity of being a valve? Remember, your system needs maintenance. Don't wait for the explosion to realize the pressure was too high. If you learned something new, subscribe to the channel for building better habits through navigating Compass, and share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you.